Gracias a todo el que creo en mí, desde el primer día, desde antes que saliera, con una compañía, desde antes que supieran lo que ustedes ya sabían, que soy el mejor en esto y en que me convertiría en un ícono de grandes y chicos. Gracias a Tommy, a mi gente en Puerto Rico. Cada cosa que logro, desde ese la dedico, aunque a veces no me entiendan, hayan cosas que no explico. Ay, ser diferente se siente cabrón, pero más cabrón se siente siempre ser de corazón. Poco reales yo sé quiénes son, pero el tiempo no falla, siempre tiene la razón. Ay. What's going on, guys? Thank you for coming back to another video. Today we are talking about Gracias, or just Heart as it's written on the album. This is the 20th and final song in our Gringo's Guide to Bad Bunny's second album, YHLQMDLG, where we're going to be talking about every song in the album, looking at the Spanish, translating it into English. So if you are interested in learning Spanish, these videos are good for you. So, Gracias. This is the song that wraps up the album, literally. He basically thanks all of his fans for believing in him, for sticking with him from day one. He recounts all of his accomplishments and promises to release another album in 9 months, which he did, and was a couple of days ahead of schedule on. This song was produced by Tainy and by Albert Hype, who both produced the last song, and which kind of makes sense because the beat flows from one right into the other. So let's take a look at the lyrics to the first 6 lines or so. So the song starts out, Gracias a todo el que creyó en mí desde el primer día. So gracias means thank you or thanks, as I'm sure most people know. A is to, so gracias a is thanks to or thank you to. Todo el que creyó. So the expression todo el que is going to mean like everyone that or everyone who. Sometimes you'll see it in this form, like the singular form, or sometimes you'll see it as todos los que, which would be like the plural form. But just as common to see it this way. So thank you to everyone who creyó. So creyó is coming from the verb creer, which means to believe. Here it's in the past tense, so it would say thanks to everyone who believed. En mí is going to mean in me. Desde el primer día. So desde means like from or since. El primer día is going to mean the first day. It might sound more natural to say day one. So the whole thing would say like, thanks to everyone who believed in me from day one. Okay, then he says, desde antes que saliera con una compañía. So desde, once again, is like from or since. Antes means before. And antes que also just means before. This is just the way that it's typically used, like in a sentence like this. So antes que is typically followed by a verb in the subjunctive tense. So here it's in the subjunctive past tense. So saliera, the verb is salir, which means like, usually means like to leave. Here it kind of has the meaning of like to come out. So desde antes que saliera is going to mean like before I came out. It's in the first person tense. So before I came out, con, with, una compañía, literally a company. He's referring to like a record company or like a record label, as we would say. So you could change out the verb saliera, salir, for something like to sign in English. So you could say this as like before I signed with a record label. So a little history on that. So Bad Bunny, before he signed with his first label, he was kind of like an independent artist on SoundCloud. And he did that for about a year or less. And at this point, he's deleted all of his early songs on his SoundCloud account. But you can still find all of them or most of them on YouTube. I'll link to one of them in the description. It's pretty interesting to hear because really you can't even tell it's him in some of the songs. He still hadn't really found like his vocal style that we all kind of know him for now. Also, these early songs were made with a person called La Paciencia, who is basically a producer and who seems to be Bad Bunny's principal sound engineer. So, in other words, like the person who records Bad Bunny's vocals and like processes them and stuff. So, Bad Bunny seems to have been with him pretty much since day one. He was involved in all of his albums, and I'm sure YHLQMDLG would not be what it is if it wasn't for La Paciencia and the work that he's done. So, La Paciencia, thank you for your hard work. We appreciate it, and keep it up. Okay, then he says, desde antes que supieran lo que ustedes ya sabían. So, once again, we have desde antes que followed by a verb in the subjunctive tense. So, again, desde antes que is just going to mean like before. And then supieran is coming from the verb saber, which means like to know or to find out, depending on the context. And here we can see that the verb is in the plural form because of the N on the end of the verb. So he also drops the pronoun. So this can be kind of hard, like when you're learning Spanish, to know who they're talking about when there's no pronoun. So when a verb is in the plural form, the speaker is either talking to a group of people or he's talking about a group of people. So here I would say that he's talking about a group of people. So this would translate as like before they found out. Okay. Lo que ustedes ya sabían. So lo que means what. Ustedes ya sabían. So here we have the pronoun ustedes, which means you all. Ya sabían. So once again, the verb is saber. Here it's in the indicative form, which is like the more normal form, really. It's in the past tense. So lo que ustedes ya sabían. The ya means like already. So it's going to translate as like what you already knew, what you all already knew. Okay, so the whole line is going to mean like before they found out what you all already knew. So he's kind of like giving credit to his early fans for like, you know, discovering him and like believing in him before the people from the record company like found out about him, like found out about his talent, you know, something like that. Okay, and then it continues to say que soy el mejor en esto y en que me convertiría. So this continues from the last line, lo que ustedes ya sabían, so what you all already knew, that soy el mejor en esto, so soy is I am, el mejor en esto, literally the best in this, or like the best at this. So it's going to be that I am the best at this, y en que me convertiría. Okay, so we'll start with the verb on the end here, me convertiría. So the infinitive form would be convertirse, which means to become. So here it's in like that future would tense. So it would mean I would become. And then the NK is coming back from the beginning. So the first line where he says, Gracias a todo el que creyó en, the first thing he's saying is that he's thanking everyone who believed in him from the first day. And now he's saying, thank you to everyone who believed in that, the K is that, to everyone who believed in that I would become. Okay, so this is now the second thing that he's thanking people for. And obviously you don't need the in when you translate to English. So it would just be like, thanks to everyone who believed that I would become. En un icono de grandes y chicos. So the en is just going along with the verb me convertiría from the last line. So we can just drop that and we translate it into English. Un icono is going to translate like an icon. De grandes y chicos. So the de is going to translate like to. And then grandes is like adults. Y chicos, so the E is and, chicos is kids. So together with the last line, it would be like, thanks to everyone who believed that I would become an icon to grown-ups and kids. Gracias a todos mis domi y a mi gente en Puerto Rico. So again, gracias a is going to mean like thanks to or thank you to. Todos mis domi. So todos mis is going to mean like all my. Domi is a shortening of Dominicanos or Dominicans. So the whole thing would be like, thank you to all my Dominicans. We don't really have like a shortening of Dominicans in English that I know of. So maybe we should adopt domis. Sounds pretty cool. So like you could say, thanks to all my domis, which is like what he's saying. Y a mi gente en Puerto Rico. So y and to mi gente, my people, en Puerto Rico, in Puerto Rico. So the whole line is going to say, thanks to all my domis and my people in Puerto Rico. Okay, so that's the basic idea of the song Gracias. I hope you learned something. I hope that made sense. The meaning of the song is pretty straightforward, but where he, like one thing he says kind of leads into the next, it can be kind of confusing. So I hope that made sense. But that pretty much is the song that wraps up the album, Yo hago lo que me da la gana, which kind of the theme of the album, again, is like, you know, Bad Bunny has achieved a point in his career where he can do things the way he wants. Nobody can tell him what to do. He's kind of achieved a certain level of artistic freedom of expression, and he's kind of celebrating that in the album. And he really demonstrates throughout the album like how expressive of a singer he is. He can really go from like sadness and melancholy to like anger and spite to like self-pride and passion to sarcasm and humor, all within the same album, all within the same song really if he wants to. And he's just able to hit on so many emotions that people can identify with. And I think that's why the album is so popular. That's why he's so popular, because people can really just take to his music and how personal it is, and they can really just identify with it on a lot of different levels. So I hope these videos were able to help you understand a little bit more about this type of music, a little bit more about Bad Bunny and about this album, and improve your Spanish at the same time. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do for the next video yet. I'll probably just find another song to talk about. I might change up the format a little bit and maybe do it as like a screen capture type thing, where basically I just have the lyrics on the screen and then we go through them, and like I'll write out what I'm basically talking about so you can kind of see it being translated with the text. And part of that too is because I just don't like having the camera pointed at me. I find it really awkward, and I'm not able to. I thought I was going to be able to get used to it, but it's like, it's really hard. I don't know. It makes me really admire people on YouTube though that like are able to just talk to the camera all the time and like they're so natural with it. For me, it's just been really hard. So I think I'll probably change up the format a little bit and maybe, like I said, just do it as like a screen capture. But we'll see. I haven't quite decided yet. So thank you to everyone for watching. I really appreciate it. And of course, thank you to Bad Bunny for providing us with this excellent album. I've thoroughly enjoyed it and will continue to enjoy it. It's been like the best $10 I've ever spent. And I will say that Yo hago lo que me da la gana has been my favorite album up to this point from Bad Bunny. And I've loved all of his other albums, but this one's been my favorite. And I think is one of the best albums in the genre and probably will be forever. So thanks again for watching, and come back for the next video, which will be to be determined. So see you then. Thanks.